Okay, so I just have a couple of comments. So I feel that comparing the two murders, this murderer for the siblings, he made a lot of mistakes.
This was sloppy.
It was crazy.
Even compared,
it just doesn't seem right.
His first murder of 4 people was less sloppy than this murder.
He made so many mistakes. He first had Kevin tie up his sister instead of the other way around. I'm not really sure what that's about.
That's a very good point.
You would think he would have chosen, and I know that this killer he had a plan. The plan needed to stick to exactly what he had fantasized in his head, and if it didn't, he got frazzled.
Well, he wasn't expecting Kevin.
It was.
He wasn't expecting her brother. Yeah. I mean,
It was just a makeshift plan, and that's what he went with. I don't know.
A 19-year-old young man.
Yeah,
that's a very strong person.
Yeah,
and
clearly,
and somebody you don't want to have to be a part of your fantasy, your murder fantasy that you're about to.
Right. I mean, so that was big flag there for a mistake he made.
Well, what's with the 12:30 p.m. thing? His first murders were at, he walked in about 8:45 in the morning. Now we're talking 12:30. Is this his lunch break? I can't even imagine you're going to somebody's house at 12:30 and you think everything's going to work the way you expect in the middle of the day.
I can't wait to hear where he worked at this time. I know we'll get to that later, so check that out. But I can't wait to see where he worked, and if this was CSI Miami or anything like that, if this was a really major show, there would totally be a correlation with all of his times.
And I think we're gonna do a map in a future episode.
They would definitely have a map.
We'll have a map of all of the crimes. The big crimes, and where the intruder lived, and where he worked at the time.
That would be super neat to get into that.
Yeah.
And then also, he allowed Kevin to get out of his restraints 3 times. The third time he actually got out of the door, which saved Kevin's life, so to speak. And then the last mistake, he went to the wrong car.
I know that you're younger than I am, but keys back then had generally 2 keys. One key for the door and one key for the ignition. Yeah. And they would have the make of the manufacturer of the vehicle on.
Ford.
Yes, exactly. It would say Chrysler
Square
or
versus
Ford.
Ram. I know this.
Exactly. So it actually shouldn't have seemed, unless they had
he shouldn't
even if they each had one car, how hard would it be to put the key in?
And even nowadays,
it's
my
not
husband
that hard.
has a Subaru, I have a Honda, that you can tell the keys from the makes. And so I don't understand, this again, I feel like he's frazzled.
I agree.
The boy has run out of the house, he's not thinking clearly anymore. I just wonder why he was so miscalculating.
I mean, look, we're talking about a guy whose first murders was 4 people.
Yeah.
That we know of.
Right.
I mean, let's be real here.
You can never trust the murderer.
Yeah, you can't trust the murderer. So, that we know of, his first murder was 4 people. But I'm really curious. Well, one, he was just expecting the woman, not her brother, because he didn't live there. He was just visiting with her. Mm-hmm. 2, he was 19 years old, so of course, you don't want to encounter a 19-year-old male if you're gonna commit a crime. You really don't.
That's like a man's peak, almost. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
It's true.
It's around your peak.
Yeah, it's downhill from there. And 3, he had 2 guns, and we're gonna learn later that he had won awards for his marksmanship. Mm-hmm. And so maybe he kind of had a giant ego for, maybe the guns gave him a big sense of security, but when he pulled off the crime, he realized that he wasn't as secure as he thought he was.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it just seemed that the second murder was more difficult than the first, which is so odd. I mean,
true.
I don't understand how you can make that many mistakes. I mean,
well,
look,
maybe it's
because I don't condone murder, okay? But this guy was meticulous. He planned this for months on end, if not years, and stalked his people like just prey. I mean, to make this many mistakes, and possibly only because he had one bump, which was Kevin. You know, I mean, Kevin being there, throwing him off this much. It's just great. I mean, like, was there DNA evidence left behind? I don't think so at this crime scene.
At this crime scene, I did not take note that he had left any DNA, but there was a living witness.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And no, I'm not suggesting anything. I just wanted to know because, I mean, I've definitely read speculation that he's had help in certain instances and not help in others. No one knows whether that's true or not. I mean, so I'm not saying that
this guy didn't even have friends. He didn't have friends in elementary school. He didn't have friends in high school, not really. And he didn't have friends as an adult. I don't think in any way that he had. I don't think he had help.
That's my fair point.
That's my fair point. There's no, as far as we know, there's no evidence of another person, and I'm not going to go down into some kind of crazy rabbit hole of conspiracy that there was somebody else.
I'm always open to ideas, though.
Of course,
you know, and I like the conversation.
I mean, the concept that he had 4 people in his first major crime,
and he could hardly do 2.
That's very shocking. That's very shocking. He didn't only control them, but he killed all of them, even though one was an Air Force master sergeant, a successful boxer. The wife had a brown belt.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy to think that he wouldn't have help, but, you know, if his ego was big enough.
It's true.
You know, and if his desire was strong enough, you know, then he was able to carry it off.
Yeah. No, I think all that makes sense. I just, it's a little strange. I mean, did someone piss in his cereal that morning? So he was distracted.
And we're gonna get to that because we know the first one. Yeah. What was the driving force for the first one?
You're watching House of Crime podcast.